Welcome to the 2016 Agile Assets International Users Conference. Thank you for attending in person. Thank for each of the states that are being here. Also, thanks to each of you online who are joining us for this streaming version of the IUC. We welcome you to forward the information to colleagues to join. We have a series of 6 live streaming presentations this week. The next presentation, this first keynote presentation, is with Mr. Stuart Hudson. As many of you know, Stuart is the founder, the president, the chief executive of Agile Assets. He continues to be a visionary in asset management, focusing on the value of what it means to the people that are responsible for managing those assets and the taxpayers that fund it. Stuart is a professionally registered engineer. He's a proud graduate of the University of Texas. He has global experience throughout multiple continents. He has grown the organization and made a positive impact for the people who work for him, the partners that work with him, and the customers whom we serve. So please extend a very warm welcome to Mr. Stuart Hudson.
Well, thank you, Joe. Thank you, and good morning, and welcome to the 2016 Agile Assets International Users Conference. I'm very excited about the conference this year. All of the exhilarating conversations and the technical interactions that will be taking place over the next 3 days. We have over 100 attendees from clients and partners attending this year, and over 70 Agile Assets employees. So with such a good turnout, I don't think we can help but have a great time and an enriching technical experience at the same time. So our theme this year is driving user value. But what do we mean by value, and what types of values are we talking about? And how can good transportation asset management, or TAM for short, since I'll use that term quite a bit in this presentation, how can TAM help sustain those values? I also want to explore some of the problems that transportation asset managers face during their daily work, and how these can be solved with good TAM solutions and practices. So I believe that we've gotten a lot better at understanding, analyzing, and managing our infrastructure. And that's been done with the extended value of transportation asset management and what it brings to its users. I also believe that there is an immense potential for continuing to improve the value and benefits to all. This vision, so to speak, is the value proposition of Agile Assets: to improve people's lives. Now that's a strong statement, and we do have that focus. Transportation infrastructure asset management software is what we do, and we want to be the best in the world at it. Our core purpose as an organization is to maximize infrastructure value and safety. So let's discuss the value part first. I like this saying that value is the potential to serve, because monetary value alone is meaningless without a productive or beneficial use of that money, that monetary value. So ultimately, it's all about serving individuals and the public for the good of society. So the capacity to provide service is an important part of value. So what else do we mean by value? First of all, there's a lot of money and other resources that we're putting into the infrastructure. This is the sheer monetary value of the assets we manage. Many billions of taxpayer dollars are used every year to plan, build, maintain, and operate our highway systems. Secondly, there's a great societal value that's associated. And these benefits are that you have a safe, reliable, and efficient transportation network, our set of infrastructure for people to use. The movement of people and goods is a privilege that allows us to do business and commerce across the world. Finally, there is the enterprise asset management concept, which brings about a great business value to the agencies and the users, and ultimately the driving public that uses the infrastructure, the taxpayers. So transportation provides a tremendously valuable service in each of our lives. Transportation builds and sustains the economic vitality and growth of our society. It improves our quality of life so that we can do the things we need and want to do. We can do things like being healthy, having good food, going to good schools, getting to work, and so forth. It also supports the industrial sectors, such as manufacturing, utilities, wholesale, retail, and companies in all types of businesses. So let's look at three basic components of transportation infrastructure value. The first is the direct investment in the construction, the preservation, maintenance of the assets themselves. This is the intrinsic value related to the total cost of ownership. We must spend money to be able to develop and produce our transportation infrastructure. The real value, however, is in the ability to provide mobility to people and products to fuel the economy. This is literally billions of dollars in ongoing value. There's also a significant cost to maintain high levels of safety on our transportation infrastructure, but with the potential for immense user benefits, users being the driving public in this case. The benefits directly contribute to value. For example, savings from legal fees, emergency services, other associated costs of crashes. But safe infrastructure also benefits us indirectly, as it's hard to measure the value of a human life. So the overall value of the transportation infrastructure is significantly higher than the actual cost to build and maintain it. So let's get back to the theme of this conference, driving user value. So users in this context is a much larger concept than the users of our software. Clearly, the software users are important, and they'll be discussed at length here and throughout this conference. That's really what this conference is about. But in addition, we also need to consider the agencies and decision makers that are within those agencies that may not be necessarily end users of our software, as well as the citizens that make up the driving public. So these are all of the users that can benefit from the value provided by TAM, Transportation Asset Management. And I'll discuss each of these a little bit more. The end users. Agile Assets end users, you guys, are the front line of the business, right? This International Users Conference is primarily for you, the end users. There are many sessions at the conference focused on end user value. The conference this year has the most training sessions, informational sessions, demonstrations, hands-on workshops, and other end user value more than any other conference we've put on to date. I'm very proud of that as we keep trying to make these conferences better each and every year. It's also important to note that our end users are made up of a variety of personas, that is, different types of users of the software. They each need their own specific aspects of the enterprise Agile Assets suite. For example, field personnel, they need ease of use, disconnectivity from the internet, mobile solutions, and high reliability. Engineers and analysts need powerful analysis capabilities, ease of reporting, dashboards, business intelligence analytics. Management and executive level personnel want a broader overview, high-level dashboards, and powerful cross-asset analytics so that decisions can easily be made and carried out. We must also consider the class of users we're calling decision makers, which includes the agencies that own and operate the roads and their political and executive leaders. In this context, the decision maker, the agencies, are entrusted to manage the assets on behalf of the public. The end users of the software are often employees or contractors of the owner agencies. So the decision makers that rely on asset management have a great responsibility. The agency road owners are in charge of managing the assets and have responsibility in many different areas. Public funding is used to pay for the road, so there's a need for transportation infrastructure to compete with other funding needs within a government agency. Then there's the responsibility to most effectively spend the public monies that are entrusted to the agency. There's also the responsibility to ensure the ability of the public to get around easily and safely on the roadways. Those from northern states are familiar with winter maintenance and how difficult and important it is to keep the roads clear so people can move around safely and efficiently. So road users, there are the real end users. And then we have the citizens, the people who use the roads. Now, we all may be end users of the software here in this room, but we're also citizen road users as well. So we should keep in mind that the road users are the real customers for our agencies, and thus for us, the end users of the software, as being the responsible stewards for best managing our transportation assets. So the real value of what we do can be realized here at the citizen public level. The road users, all of us, can benefit from improvements in transportation infrastructure, and that can happen in two different ways when we use TAM. First, we can help reduce or minimize the cost to the users to drive on the roadway and operate their vehicles. Secondly, we can increase or maximize the value provided to the users in terms of economic benefits, conveniences, and necessities of life that the transportation network is actually provided for. So looking back at Agile Assets' core purpose again, to maximize infrastructure value and safety. The safety aspect of our core purpose also has a great influence in our drive to improve people's lives. It adds a different dimension to our quest for value. As road users, our primary concern is the safety of our families and ourselves. We also want to ensure the safety of all other road users sharing the transportation system with us. Safety affects many aspects of road use. Drivers and passengers and trucks and cars, that's an obvious one, as you see traffic accidents. But also bicyclists, pedestrians, they're a major safety concern as road users due to their inherent vulnerability. And we certainly cannot forget the emergency crews and first responders that have to get out on the roadways, and our own road crews and maintenance crews that need to be protected while they're out providing the roads. So these are other critical areas we need to provide safety. So the road safety problem is a big one. And so let's take a little deeper look at that. Approximately 100,000 people will die on the world's roadways today. 100,000, think about that, on average. And then another 100,000 again tomorrow, and the day after that, and continuing on. It's estimated in the next 15 years that more than 265 million people will be killed and seriously injured on the world's roads. Folks, this is unsustainable. That's why Agile Assets, as part of our core purpose, has incorporated safety into our transportation asset management products, and into our philosophy, providing best of practice approaches and solutions so that our clients can provide safe, sound, and highly effective transportation for their constituents. It's a tough world out there on the highways. We as human beings are not built to withstand the forces of steel and concrete when combined with speed and momentum. But this is Graham. He's actually the only person designed to survive on our roads. He's an interactive sculptor who was developed by a trauma surgeon, a crash investigation expert, and an Australian artist as part of a road safety campaign undertaken by the Victoria Transport Accident Commission. They call it Towards Zero, which is very similar to many programs here in the United States, where we're trying to get to 0 deaths on the road. In describing why they developed Graham, the commission said, cars have evolved a lot faster than humans. And Graham helps us understand why we need to improve every aspect of our road system to protect ourselves from our own mistakes. So there's a huge potential return on investment for improving the safety of our highways. This is not only in financial terms, but in social benefits as well. Improving the safety of our world's roads can save an estimated 40 million deaths over the next 15 years. In terms of the financial benefits, there are many other ways to look at the return on investment from improving highway safety. In fact, the return on investment should be very high. For every dollar invested, more than $8 of benefits will accrue to the already overstretched and burdened health systems, to the legal sector, and to emergency services that are always needing to respond. So safer roads can unlock more than $5 trillion worth of benefits worldwide in the next 15 years. So safer roads will pay for themselves. So even though our primary concern as citizens is the safety of our roads, the primary purpose of the roads and transportation system is to provide us with mobility. We need to be able to move people and goods so people can obtain products and services and conduct their daily lives. Mobility is also crucial for our economy in terms of moving freight, materials, and all aspects of the supply chain which feeds the world's industries. Of course, I don't have to remind anyone that lives here in Austin, and probably many of your cities as well, how big a problem congestion or the lack of mobility can be. For me, congestion is one of the most frustrating aspects of modern daily life. But it's not the stress that builds up in drivers, but also the huge waste of time and energy, as well as the heavy pollution loads being dumped into our atmosphere and our environment that are problematic. So congestion is a real big problem and getting bigger every day. It's a multi-billion-dollar problem. And most people rely on the transport network for their livelihood. They have to get to work, they have to deliver their goods and services. Thus, congestion and traffic delays cost individually and collectively as a society an enormous amount of our resources. Wasting the time of motorists results in costs associated with lost opportunities. As a non-productive activity, congestion overall reduces the economic health. For example, delays may result in late arrival for your employment, for meetings, for education, maybe resulting in loss of business, disciplinary actions, or other personal losses. So there's wasted fuel, increased air pollution, and carbon dioxide emissions. Wear and tear on vehicles leads to more frequent repairs and replacements of the vehicles. So mobility causes a lot of problems. I mentioned being stressed and frustrated. I think many of you can probably relate to that. It encourages road rage and reduces health of individuals when it builds up cortisol from that stress. In emergencies, blocked traffic interferes with the emergency vehicles that are traveling to their destinations where they are urgently needed. And the spillover effect from congested roads from the main arteries will spill over onto secondary roads and side streets. And this can greatly affect the amenities of neighborhoods and real estate prices in the area. So in congested conditions, there's a much higher chance of collisions due to tight spacing and constant stopping and going. So a lot of problems, as you can imagine, associated with congestion. So there's a great deal of value to be had by improving mobility and managing mobility along with our transportation asset management approach. So improving mobility will save many billions of dollars of user costs and lost opportunity costs every year for individuals. Reducing congested roads and implementing effective capacity improvements will greatly improve roadway satisfaction and serviceability for the public. So the value of our transportation network translates wholly to the business value that we can provide with transportation asset management tools and approaches for the users and the agency owners of the transportation assets. The potential value is great, as I've talked about, and the benefits of implementing town technology using Agile Assets, best-in-industry asset management tools and practices will provide the maximum business value for you as end users, the agencies you represent, and the public at large. Although the specifics may vary somewhat over these dates, the evolution timeline of the various components of transportation asset management is shown here. Maintenance management, pavement, and bridge management focused initially in the 60s, 70s, and 80s to get a handle on and control the hard assets, the costs of providing the hard assets that the agency owns and has budget control over. In the 1990s, the concept of integrating these individual asset management systems into an overall transportation asset management approach was initiated. And now, here in the beginning of the 21st century, the important concepts of safety, enterprise system integration, cross-asset analysis have come into asset management consideration. And as we move into the future, transportation asset management will begin to better incorporate the concepts of mobility, sustainability into the equation, giving better, more all-encompassing transportation asset investment decisions. The focus shown in the National Transportation Performance Goals, as defined in the MAP 21 and the new, more recent FAST Act legislation, these goals are actually, for the most part, the primary objectives of transportation asset management as well. So managing the performance of our transportation network is part of the function of the transportation asset management system. We have infrastructure condition. That's what most of the systems and historically in asset management that we've been able to control, because that's where we spend our money and that's where we can get return on those benefits. But safety and mobility, congestion, are also part of the national performance goals, as I've been discussing. System reliability relates to improving the efficiency of travel, freight movement, and economic vitality. Well, that's also part of mobility and the economy and the benefits. Environmental sustainability is another aspect that we all need to take into account, and that is also related to pollution, energy usage, runoff from the roadways, many other types of environmental effects that are caused by our transportation. Then there is also a focus in the new legislation on speeding up the delivery of construction, rehabilitation, and preservation projects. Historically, these have taken so long, so trying to improve that is a very good goal indeed. So each of these specific performance goals have different metrics associated with them. For example, in safety, we may be talking about the number of fatalities or injuries by severity. For congestion, maybe the costs of congestion. Environmental sustainability, maybe the amounts of pollution emitted. But what I want you to notice is that each of these considerations is valued differently. Decision makers that are responsible, decision makers that are responsible for different areas to make their decisions, they do it individually, but we implement projects that span across the entire agency. So decision makers, and thus their asset management tools, must consider multiple objectives to come to the best overall decisions. They need to consider all of the stakeholders and users that are involved. So decisions have to be made within each discipline area, and then there's also a need at the decision maker levels to evaluate the effects of various programs, along with mobility and safety considerations, which relate directly to the purpose of the transportation network and the concerns of the citizens. So the best business value is going to be obtained by well-informed analytical decisions. These include not only the hard numbers, but the soft considerations that make a difference to the real end users, the traveling public, the ones that fund the transportation system. The business value of transportation asset management is primarily the value gained by the agency in terms of extended life and gained efficiencies. Such agency financial benefits are listed here, and they are usually the main ones that agencies are able to analyze and manage. And this is because they are the only tangible benefits that can be obtained and compared with the actual funding that they can control. Many of the benefits of mobility and safety are accrued to the public and not to the agency itself. So that is a little bit of a problem when we're trying to spend money as an agency, and we want to improve traveling to the public, but really all we have is the ability to put money into the condition and the assets like that. So it's important that we understand that the end user is the one that's actually paying for the roadways. So what are some of the ways that we can look at societal value that can be gained by our agencies in making TAM investments? Well, there's vehicle operating cost savings, reducing fuel consumption, many different societal benefits that are listed here. But transportation agencies do have to make required investments into TAM strategy to be able to achieve the maximum benefits possible. Some of these costs are listed here. They include non-recurring or one-time costs to get the system up and running, and then there are yearly, annual recurring costs to maintain the system and to collect data on an annual basis and into the future. There are many new technologies that are making an impact today and will continue to do so in the future. Some of these are listed here on the slide. Primarily, we understand that the world is constantly changing. Technology is constantly improving. And we at Agile Assets are striving to make innovative use of the best of new technologies to improve transportation asset management products and services that we provide. Now, this is a quick look at how Agile Assets products support value in some of the critical areas that I've been discussing. I'm not going to spend too much time on this diagram because you're going to be hearing a lot more about the various components of the software throughout this session, throughout this conference. But I wanted to point out a few things. One, the foundation is in every Agile Assets product. That's where the database resides, the APIs that interact with all the third-party systems, and many of the foundational characteristics of the software reside there. The Manager Series is where all of the daily work is done, bridge inspections, maintenance work, signs and signals, ITS, and so forth. Up in the green section, the Analyst Series, that is where we look at long-term deterioration, rehab, and reconstruction planning for bridges and pavements. That's also where the Safety Analyst module resides, where we compare the needs of conditions and deterioration versus the needs for safety improvements for the public. And you'll notice the box there in the slightly different color green, the Mobility Analyst. This is a new product that we're beginning development on in Agile Assets that will complete the whole suite to give you the ability to not only look at the conditions of your best assets, but also the important functional characteristics that the transportation network is provided for, mobility, as well as the safety of the traveling public. And then finally, at the very top, the Executive Series, the Portfolio Analyst, which used to be called Asset Trade-Off Analyst, and the new Agile Assets Summit, which Joe mentioned briefly, and I'll talk a little bit more about, but I'm sure you'll hear a lot more about in this conference. And I'm not going to go through the details of all of this, but I wanted to hit on a couple of modules. The Portfolio Analyst really helps make better overall management decisions, providing maximum business value across the agency. It provides a comprehensive set of cross-asset analysis and optimization tools, as well as executive dashboards and intelligent report views to fully inform decision makers at the highest levels of an agency. And I don't want to steal all of Michael's thunder, but I do want to briefly mention the new Agile Assets Summit product. In terms of value, Summit provides easily accessed, drill-down business intelligence for all of your Agile Assets TAM data across the entire organization. It's an awesome tool, and I think that everybody is going to be excited when this is rolled out. Joe also mentioned our collaboration with ESRI, and a well-integrated and easy-to-use GIS mapping capability within the Transportation Asset Management System is critical. Agile Assets has been providing integrated mapping capabilities within its product since the late 1990s. Recently, Agile Assets and ESRI have teamed up to integrate the full functionality of the ESRI ArcGIS server platform to drive the GIS capabilities within the Agile Assets suite. This has opened up a world of possibilities for DOTs to leverage their other ESRI GIS capabilities into their enterprise asset management activities and directly within their Agile Assets product. In the end, the organization remains king. And what I mean by that is that we all work within agencies that are responsible for the final decisions that we make as agency representatives. And it's very difficult for large organizations to change. And the implementation of transportation asset management and bringing in all these new technologies is major change. Change is difficult for humans in any event, but when people are together in groups and organizations, it is especially difficult. Most organizations don't have a change management plan. They don't have approaches to help them deal with change effectively, and that can cause problems. Risk is a concept that is also brought up in the MAP 21 and FAST legislation, and agencies are becoming more risk averse and trying to incorporate risk into their decisions. And we've incorporated risk, or we are continuing to incorporate the concept of analyzing risk throughout Agile Assets products to help account for the uncertainties in the decision-making process. So our job, as the ones entrusted with implementing and carrying out asset management, is to help guide the agency decision makers to the best possible decisions. Agencies are made up of people. So where is this all leading? We've discussed the value of transportation and the value of providing safety, mobility, and infrastructure assets in good condition. We touched on the value of transportation asset management and specific modules and technologies that Agile Assets is employing in its product suite to help meet agency management challenges. The reality of doing all of this within the constraints of the agencies and organizations that we work for, and within the funding that is available for us, is an increasing challenge. So we need to remember that great value requires great effort. We need to keep investing in our transportation infrastructure. There is a great value in keeping transportation infrastructure safe, reliable, and in top conditions. But there are lurking challenges, as most of you know, in the forms of deterioration, accidents, congestion, budget cuts, and many more that we deal with on a daily basis. So together, we can address these challenges. We at Agile Assets strive to be partners and trusted advisors to you, our end users, and to your agencies to advance transportation asset management for your constituents' benefit. We focus all of our energies on developing, providing, supporting, and improving the best possible enterprise-level transportation asset management solutions. We want to help you be the best you can be in your jobs. You are the entrusted transportation asset management technologists within your agency. In the end, people are our greatest asset and provide our greatest overall value. To overcome the great challenges we have in transportation asset management requires great dedication and hard work, requires innovation, and most of all, collaboration and teamwork to achieve the greatest possible satisfaction for our society. I encourage each of you to work together in collaboration, innovation, and dedication over the next 3 days of this conference. Take this opportunity while so many of our client agency users and Agile Assets staff are here together at this conference to continue building the relationships and innovative strategies necessary to achieve the great goals that are possible. Then take that knowledge that you gain back to your agencies to do the important and very beneficial, valuable work of managing our valuable transportation assets. Thank you. Sure. I guess we have time for a few questions if anybody has any questions.
I guess I've got a question to kind of prime the thinking a little bit. You've been in the industry for quite a few years now.
More than I care to remember.
And you had a lot of nice kind of what's happened in the 70s, 80s. Kind of just general, like the attention. Have you seen more wave of interest towards the more holistic asset management? Is that kind of what you've been see evolving?
Yeah, that is what is happening, and we see that throughout all of our agencies. The need to integrate the communication between the various asset types and functional and service areas such as mobility and safety need to be considered together. And agencies are realizing that and have been since the 1990s and into the 2000s as we keep building the concept of transportation asset management.
Any other questions out there? Well, we're just getting going, so since there's no immediate questions now, we are going to have Stuart will be here all week long and throughout all of the conference sessions and the evenings. And so, as more, I encourage you to really, he's a rich resource of ideas and innovation and thoughtfulness of what's happening. So, you know, get a chance to make sure you say hello to Stuart and kind of pick the brain a little bit, and I think you'll really enjoy the conversation. So thank you, Stuart, for your presentation.
Thank you.